All right, everyone, welcome back. So we continue on our 2024 reviews today with the Anaheim Ducks. So I'm going to try and get these out more consistently. It's been a little bit since I did my last one, but regardless, we're moving on to the third installment of this with the Anaheim Ducks today. So Anaheim heading into the season was expected to be much better. We didn't see that. We saw some positives, but mostly a lot of negatives here when you look at the overall stats. 27, 50, and 5 for 59 points. They were 30th in the NHL. And as I said, it was a very rough season. They really could never get off the ground. They had a pretty good start to the season, but then after that, they just struggled. They couldn't get anything to go their way. And that just shows that this team is still maybe a ways away from being there. Maybe still a ways away. Now, obviously, there are players on this team who look very positive, but, overall, just things aren't looking too good right now when you're looking currently for the Ducks. They have a .360 points percentage, which I believe is 30th. They have 204 goals for, 295 goals against for a -91 difference. So, obviously, we look at all these teams. When you have a difference that's nearly 100, you're not making the playoffs. Unless you're Washington. They have a 12-26-3 record at home, and they're 15-24-2 on the road. So, it's funny that they're better on the road than they are at home. I thought that was something interesting there. Obviously, both are losing records, but it shows some positivity there that they're pretty solid at home when you're looking at the overall numbers there. They have a 2.48 goals for per game, which is ranked 30th, and they have a 3.57 goals against per game, which is ranked 30th as well. Their power play percentage is 17.9, which is 25th, and their penalty kill is 72.4, which is second to last. So essentially, again, with all these numbers, it's been a very brutal season. No numbers have really improved. I'd say the goals against maybe a little bit, but not too much from last year. But I think this team overall holding the third overall pick and another first-round pick from Edmonton does show some positivity there when you're looking at draft. But overall, currently, the numbers aren't great. Their TikTok average during the season where my power rankings were, you had a 6.37, which is ranked 28th. So they aren't the worst. They aren't the worst. There actually is a team that's higher in the standings than them that is lower on the power rankings. So something to keep in mind there. But regardless, you look at the overall team numbers, they aren't all too great. Just that they aren't exciting. You look at the player scores, though, there's some positive guys here. There are some guys who did well this year. You got Frank Vatrano highlighting that. 82 games played, 37 goals, 23 assists for 60 points. Vatrano has had himself an absolutely spectacular season. I think that, honestly, he really cemented himself as going to be a part of this Ducks team moving forward. Has been one of my favorite players to watch this year. Scoring nearly 40 goals is pretty damn impressive. You have Troy Terry. Terry second in scoring with 76 games played, 20 goals, 34 assists for 54 points. I thought Terry overall had himself another really good season too. I think that it hasn't been as good as other years, but I think definitely he still had a solid season overall. You got Mason McTavish. He missed some time with 64 games played, 19 goals, 23 assists for 42 points. I thought McTavish played well at points, but wasn't obviously the greatest player on this team. I do think, though, that once you get him meshed together with Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson, and Trevor Zegras, I think that forward core will be insane. I'll get more into that in a little bit. Ryan Strome, 79 games played, 11 goals, 30 assists for 41 points. I didn't hate that signing. I like Strome. I do think, though, he's taken a step backwards from what he was with the Rangers in his second season with the Ducks, but I don't hate it overall. Then you got Cam Fowler. Fowler, fifth in scoring, 81 games played, 5 goals, 34 assists, 39 points. I thought Fowler, above all, was probably the best defenseman on this team. When you look at the overall numbers, there is another defenseman here on this board that I do want to mention, but I'll get into him in a second here. But Fowler, probably the best defenseman on this Ducks blue line currently. Alex Killorn. Killorn was 63 games played, 18 goals, 18 assists, 36 points. That was a signing that I kind of went at the offseason. I didn't like that one a lot. I honestly thought that it's an overpay for a guy like him, and this year showed it. He did face some injuries. I will admit that he did have some injuries this season, but above all, I thought that was pretty underwhelming. Leo Carlson, I almost said William Carlson. Leo Carlson, the rookie this year, he didn't play a lot of games, but at 55 games, had 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points. That shows the kind of player that Leo Carlson's going to be. I am really excited for a guy like Carlson. I think that he is going to be awesome meshed with Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish. That line could be just a dynamo line. That line's gonna be insane next year. That is what I'm really looking forward to with the Ducks. So Carlson, I'm really looking forward to there. Eighth in scoring, Pavel Mintyukov. Mintyukov with 63 games played, 4 goals, 24 assists for 28 points. Kind of, I remember when he got drafted, that was a really underwhelming look. People were looking at that and being like, that's not that great. But Mintyukov's become a really solid defenseman this year, and honestly, at points, was better than Luke Hughes when it came to offense. So I think that honestly, Mintyukov is a guy that is going to be probably on that first or second pairing, is a defenseman that I really look forward to when I'm looking at the Anaheim Ducks. Ninth in scoring, Brett Liason. Liason with 68 games played, 11 goals, 11 assists for 22 points. Liason was one of those guys who kind of made a name for himself this year. He didn't play amazing, but he still played pretty solid looking considering the facts. And then finally, Jacob Silverberg with 81 games played, 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points, who actually retired at the end of this year. So best wishes to him in retirement, but I always liked Silverberg. Was always one of my favorite players in Anaheim. Has been here since I started watching hockey, and hopefully he has a good retirement. So that's your top 10 scorers. Notice there's no Trevor Zegras. Yeah, Zegras had a really bad year. Yeah, I think he had 12 points, but he did miss a lot of time due to injury. So I think this year was a really big setback for Zegras, especially, too, when you look at the overall in the offseason. At the start of the year, I remember we were talking about how Zegras wouldn't sign. It took a while for him to sign his contract with the Ducks. He finally did, and we saw rumors around this year when Cutter Gauthier got traded that, the Ducks had made Zegras available to the trade market. We didn't see any trades in the deadline because I didn't think we would, but I do think that there is a decent chance that Trevor Zegras could get moved. There is a decent chance. So obviously we'll see what happens there. In terms of goaltending, I thought there's some concern that I have with some of the goalies. I do like Lucas Dostal. I think he is their next guy. I'll start with him first. 44 games played, 14, 23, and 3, a 3.38 and a .902. I like Dostal a lot. I think this year, even though his numbers aren't great, I think he proved that he's ready. There have been games where he's really kept them in it. He's kept them in some of the games. So that's why I think that Dostal should get a legitimate chance at being the starter of this team next season. Do I think he will? Maybe not, but I think there's a legitimate chance that Dostal could be that guy. John Gibson, the other goalie, 46 games played, 13, 27, and 2, a 3.54 and a .888. I know there's some people who are against trading Gibson. There's some people who are for trading Gibson. I know there's been rumors there a lot. But I feel like the more they hold on to Gibson, the worse off they're going to be. I genuinely think that. Because I feel like Gibson's getting worse as the years go on. I get it. He's a solid goalie. I think you should move him, though. I think you should trade him by now. I think he should have been moved already and sent off to another team. I don't think they should be holding on to him right now. But that's just my opinion. I know other people have different thoughts on that. But yeah, John Gibson was the guy. And the real thing is, too, is that these were the only goalies to play games for the Ducks this year. If I'm correct, I don't think any other goalies played a game. I don't think any of the third-string guys have come up and played. I think it's just been Dostal and Gibson the entire season. So that's something to keep in mind there. In terms of ins and outs throughout the season. Now, this is something that I do where I look at trades. I don't really want to go through every single trade and talk about the trades that happened this year. I just want to go through, who left, who came in. So we'll start with the ins. You got Cutter Gauthier, Jan Mysak, Ben Myers, a first, a third, and a fifth. And in terms of your guys that left, you got Ilya Lyubushkin, Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick, Jacob Perreault, a second and a fifth. So I'd say overall the ends are awesome. Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson, those guys are gonna be spectacular on this team. Mysak, not a bad B-level prospect, has been in the AHL the last couple of years. Same with Myers too. The first round pick and their third overall pick is going to make this team all the much better. That's actually insane that they have that, and it's just their prospect pool might be the best in the NHL. It might be. I'm going to do that in the offseason, but it might be the best in the NHL. I am very excited to talk about the Ducks when I do this year's prospect pool overviews. So stay tuned for that. So that's all the stuff from this year. The scores, the team stats, and the trades and all the good stuff. I want to talk about like draft capital and UFAs and RFAs now. Look at the overall future of this team. So in terms of draft capital, they have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 3 third-round picks, a 4th, no 5th, a 6th, and no 7th. So they have a lot of capital in the early rounds. They have, I think, 7 picks in the first 3 rounds of the draft. 2 of them being first-round picks. I'm going to make more prospect previews soon. So I would expect the Ducks with that 3rd overall pick to go with a defenseman. That's what I expect. I think guys with like Lev Shinov, Adam in with Minchukov, and obviously too Zellweger. I think this defensive core could be spectacular. But I think Lev Shinov would be a good add there too. I think if they wanted to, if they see Ivan Demidov on the board, they could go with him. But honestly, we'll see there what they try and do with that 3rd overall pick. That's something you got to keep in mind. In terms of UFAs and RFAs, you got Jacob Silfverberg, Ben Myers, and William Legason as UFAs. So Silfverberg's retired. Get him out of here. Myers, I think they keep around. I think you keep him around as a guy that can be in the AHL. Same with Legason. In terms of restricted free agents, you got Isaac Lundestrom, Max Jones, Brett Liason, Benoit Oliver Gerlux, Gustav Lidstrom, not Caden Lidstrom, Jackson Lacombe, and Urho Vakahinen. I think Lundestrom is a guy that, honestly, I think he kind of goes. I think he moves at the free agency market. I think that he's been really disappointing. Jones, probably the same thing. I think Liason you might keep around. He had a pretty solid season. Grulks, you might move him too. Lidstrom was a kind of a guy that filled in a little bit defensively this year. Not sure if they leave him around. Lacombe and Vakahinen are guys that I think could be good too. So regardless, that's your 2024 review for the Anaheim Ducks. Again, I'm still struggling from that cold. That's why I'm talking a little bit faster and I'm struggling a little bit. But first time I've done a video in one full clip in a very long time. But regardless, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. We are trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. We are about 290 subs away. We are going to do our Columbus Blue Jackets one soon. I got a GM review in there as well. We're going to start plugging out a lot of videos here since the offseason's upon us. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.